All right, so you're thinking about a career working with plastics tech? Huh, pretty interesting stuff, right? We've got all the info we need right here in this RoleCatcher file, and we're diving deep today into how to ace that interview for a plastic heat treatment equipment operator position. No more generic advice. This is all about you.
You know what's really cool about this job? It's not just about operating machinery. It's about understanding the science of plastics, how they react to heat. That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so let's break it down for our listeners. What does this job actually entail? We're talking about using some pretty high-tech equipment like furnaces and flame-hardening machines to basically transform raw plastic, right?
Absolutely. It's like taking this pliable, almost liquid plastic and using precise heat treatments to mold it into something durable like a car part, or even something flexible like a medical device. It requires a deep understanding of the materials and the technology.
It's like controlled transformation at a molecular level. That's a
Yeah.
great way to put it. And that's where these RoleCatcher resources come in handy, right? We're not just talking about understanding the job, but acing those interview questions. So let's dive right in. Here's our first question from the repository. Describe a time you had to troubleshoot a problem with a piece of equipment. What steps did you take and what was the outcome?
This is where they're trying to see beyond just your technical skills. They want to see how you solve problems. Can you think on your feet when something goes wrong? Do you have a system for troubleshooting?
So it's not enough to just say, the furnace broke, so I turned it off and on again.
Exactly. They want specifics. What were the warning signs? Did you have to pull out the manual? Did you try to isolate the problem and test different components? It's your chance to show off those analytical skills.
And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can be a game changer, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You can practice answering this question using their mock interview feature and get AI-powered feedback. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket.
It analyzes your delivery. Are you speaking clearly? Are you being concise? Are you using strong action verbs? It picks up on all those nuances.
And don't forget to talk about the outcome.
Right. Did your troubleshooting skills lead to a quick fix? Or did you uncover a bigger issue that needed more attention? They want to know you can take ownership and see it through.
And here's a little pro tip for you. After you've described your experience, consider asking, are there any common equipment challenges specific to your workplace?
I love that.
It shows you're already thinking ahead and eager to learn about their specific setup.
It turns a passive answer into an engaging conversation. All right, ready for the next challenge.
Bring it on.
How do you stay up to date with the latest advancements in plastic heat treatment technology? This one's all about showing your commitment to continuous learning.
Okay, so instead of just saying, I read industry magazines,
Yeah.
you need to show them you're really engaged with what's happening in the field. What are some ways you can do that?
Be specific. Did you attend a webinar on a new type of heat treatment? Are you following any industry experts on LinkedIn who are sharing cutting-edge research? The key here is to show genuine enthusiasm for staying ahead of the curve.
You know, the career guide actually mentions several prominent industry publications and online forums. It's like a cheat sheet for staying informed.
It's a gold mine. Don't be afraid to mention specific articles or technologies that you've been reading about. For example, you could say, I was recently reading about how companies are starting to use AI to optimize heat treatment cycles. Now you're speaking their language.
And another great way to show you're invested, ask them, what professional development opportunities does your company offer to keep employees current? It shows you're thinking long-term.
Brilliant. Okay, ready for a bit of a curveball.
Hit me.
Describe a time you identified a potential safety hazard in the workplace. What did you do?
Safety first, always, especially in an environment with high temperatures and specialized equipment.
They want to know that you're not just looking out for yourself, but for the well-being of the entire team.
So think back to a time when you noticed something wasn't quite right. Maybe a frayed electrical cord near a water source or a loose guardrail.
Right, and be specific about what you did. Did you immediately report it to your supervisor? Did you take steps to cordon off the area to prevent an accident? Did you actively participate in finding a solution?
This isn't about bragging. It's about demonstrating your commitment to a safe work environment. And here's a great follow-up question. What specific safety training programs do you provide for new hires?
I like that. It shows you're already thinking about how you'll fit into their existing safety culture.
Okay, ready to tackle another one.
Absolutely. This job can involve repetitive tasks. How do you stay motivated and focused throughout your shift?
Okay, getting real here. It's easy to be enthusiastic when things are new and exciting, but what about those days when you're doing the same thing for hours on end?
Exactly. They want to see if you have the mental stamina for this kind of work.
So what's the secret? How do you avoid becoming a robot, just going through the motions?
This is where self-awareness is key. Are you someone who thrives on routine, or do you need to switch things up to stay engaged?
Maybe you create little challenges for yourself or use the time to review safety protocols in your head.
And if you're struggling to articulate all of that, RoleCatcher's AI feedback can be super helpful.
Oh yeah, how so?
Their mock interview tool can actually pick up on things like fidgeting or filler words that might show nervousness or even boredom. It's like having a mirror reflecting how you come across under pressure.
That's really valuable. And speaking of valuable, let's talk about RoleCatcher's resume analysis tool.
Oh yes, this is a good one.
Tell me more.
If staying motivated during repetitive tasks is something you struggle with, RoleCatcher can actually analyze your resume and suggest ways to highlight relevant skills.
So even if you had a part-time job that doesn't sound glamorous like stocking shelves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can still frame it in a way that demonstrates focus and attention to detail skills that are directly applicable to this role.
It's about connecting those dots. That's brilliant.
Hmm.
Okay, what's next on our list of interview questions?
Let's talk about precision and attention to detail with this one. Tell me about a time you had to follow precise instructions or specifications in your work. How did you ensure accuracy?
This is so key for a plastic heat treatment equipment operator, right? You're dealing with materials, temperatures, timings. It's all about precision.
They need to know they can trust you to get it right every single time.
So it's not just about following instructions blindly, but understanding the reasons behind them, right?
Absolutely. What happens if you're off by a few degrees or a few seconds? Why is it crucial to use a specific measurement tool? It's about showing them that you understand the impact of your actions on the final product.
You're not a robot. You're thinking critically about what you're doing. So when you're answering this question, think of a time when you went above and beyond to make sure you were accurate. Maybe you double-checked your calculations or used a checklist.
And don't be afraid to pull from other areas of your life where precision matters. Baking, woodworking, even playing music. It's all about that transferable skill of attention to detail.
Okay, love it. Next question.
The plastics industry is constantly evolving. How do you stay informed about new trends and technologies?
This is where that learner mindset comes in, right? It's not enough to be good what you do today. You need to be adaptable and ready to grow with the industry.
Exactly. We talked about continuous learning earlier, and this ties right into that. The interviewer wants to see that you're curious, that you're actively looking for information, not just waiting for it to come to you.
So definitely mention those industry publications, but also think about specific trends that are shaping the field right now. What's the next big thing? Is there a push towards bioplastics? Are there new regulations impacting production?
And don't be afraid to geek out a little bit. If you're genuinely interested in a particular trend, let it show. Enthusiasm is contagious.
Love that. Okay, ready for another curveball question?
You bet. This one's about teamwork. We're all about teamwork here. Can you describe a time you had to work with someone who had a very different work style than your own? How did you handle it?
Ah, the teamwork question. Let's be real. Not everyone is going to be our best friend, but in a manufacturing setting, collaboration is essential.
Absolutely. And they want to know you can handle different personalities, different communication styles.
So focus on the positive. Highlight the skills you use to bridge that gap. Did you practice active listening? Did you try to see things from their point of view?
You know what can be really helpful here? RoleCatcher's AI feedback.
Oh yeah, in what way?
Sometimes we think we're coming across one way, but our body language is saying something else. The AI picks up on those subtle cues and helps you adjust your delivery.
That's like having a secret weapon to decode those unspoken signals. So true. Okay, we have time for one more question before we move in.
Got it. This one's a classic. What are your salary expectations for this role?
The dreaded salary question. It's always a bit tricky, right?
It is a balancing act, but remember, knowledge is power. RoleCatcher actually has a feature that lets you research average salaries for similar roles in your area.
Oh yeah, I've used that. It's so helpful.
It takes out the guesswork. And remember, it's not always about the exact number. You can highlight your willingness to negotiate based on the entire compensation package. Benefits, vacation time, professional development, the whole shebang.
Right. And don't forget to factor in the value you bring. Do you have any special certifications or experience? Be your own advocate.
Absolutely. Know your worth, and don't be afraid to say it. It can really help you figure out what you're worth. And don't forget about those benefits and perks. Vacation time, professional development opportunities, all of that factors in too.
It's not just about the number on the paycheck, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here with these specific interview questions. Where do we go from here?
Let's zoom out a bit and talk about the bigger picture, like the career path and what's happening in the industry as a whole.
Perfect. Because acing the interview is just the first step. It's also about understanding the industry landscape. Is this job in high demand? Are there opportunities to specialize? Those are all important things to consider.
Absolutely. And that's where those RoleCatcher career guide insights come in super handy. The guide actually mentions that the plastics industry is booming right now, and there's a growing emphasis on sustainability. That's something you can definitely bring up in your interview.
Totally. Imagine saying something like, I'm really interested in the shift towards eco-friendly plastics. Are there opportunities to specialize in those processes within your company?
It shows you're not just thinking about the job itself, but about the bigger picture and how you can contribute to the industry's future.
It's about aligning your interests with their values.
I like it.
And what about growth potential? Once you've landed the job, where can you go from there?
That's a great question. The career guide actually highlights some potential career paths for plastic heat treatment equipment operators. You could move into a supervisory role or even specialize in a particular type of plastic production.
So even if you start with a specific role in mind, it's good to know there are options down the line.
Exactly. It shows you're in it for the long haul. And speaking of long-term strategy, the guide also emphasizes the importance of networking.
Networking. I feel like everyone says that, but it can be a little intimidating sometimes. Where do you even begin?
I get it. The guide actually lists several specific avenues for networking within this field. Trade shows, industry conferences, online forums dedicated to plastics technology. These are all great places to connect with people in the industry.
It's not just about handing out your resume, but about building relationships and learning from others who are already doing what you want to do.
Exactly. And if in-person networking feels a bit overwhelming, start with those online forums. RoleCatcher actually has a network management tool built right into the platform.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
It helps you keep track of your contacts, people you've met, and even set reminders to follow up with them. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of networking.
That's a game changer, especially for someone who's new to the whole networking thing.
Mm.
Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. We still got a few more to cover in our deep dive prep.
Sounds good. This one seems simple, but it's important. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, I know what you're going to say. This isn't just a formality.
You know me too well. It's your chance to show that you're genuinely curious and engaged in the conversation. It's also a great opportunity to gather information to help you decide if this company is the right fit for you.
It's a two-way street, and we've already touched on some great questions throughout this episode.
Exactly. Things like, what professional development opportunities do you offer? Or what are some common equipment challenges I might encounter in this role?
Those are great. Oh, here's another one I love. What do you enjoy most about working here? It shows you're not just looking for any job. You're looking for a place where you can actually see yourself thriving.
Love it. And if you've done your research on the company and you know a bit about their culture, you can tailor your questions even further. For example, if they emphasize sustainability on their website, you could ask, what initiatives have you implemented to reduce your environmental impact?
Now that's impressive. Okay, I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here. Should we move on to the final stage of our deep dive prep?
Almost. But before we wrap up this section on interview questions, let's talk about one more thing that's super crucial. Your resume.
Ah, yes, the resume. The bane of every job seeker's existence. But seriously, it's so important to get it right.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher can help you do just that. Remember their AI-powered resume builder we talked about earlier?
Yeah, that thing is a lifesaver.
It analyzes job descriptions, identifies any skills you might be missing, and even suggests improvements tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
It's like having a personal resume writer on call 24/7.
Exactly. And let's be real, recruiters are looking at tons of resumes. You need something that's going to make yours stand out from the crowd.
You need something that grabs their attention and makes them want to learn more about you and what you can bring to the table.
Exactly. So we've talked about how to answer those tough interview questions, and we've talked about making your resume shine. Now I think it's time to shift gears a bit and talk about the why behind all of this.
You mean, why would someone choose this career path in the first place? What makes it so great?
Precisely,
Yeah.
because acing the interview is fantastic, but it's equally important to be passionate about the work itself, right?
Absolutely. So what are some compelling reasons to pursue a career as a plastic heat treatment equipment operator, besides the fact that it involves some pretty cool technology?
Well, for one, it's an industry that's constantly evolving. There's always something new to learn, a new challenge to tackle, a new process to improve.
So it's perfect for someone who loves to be challenged and who thrives on variety.
Exactly. And let's not forget the sense of accomplishment that comes with seeing a finished product that you helped create.
Whether it's a car part, a medical device, even a child's toy. Knowing that you played a role in its creation can be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. And that's something you can definitely highlight in your interview. Talk about your passion for the manufacturing process, your fascination with the science behind it, your pride in creating tangible products that improve people's lives.
Those are all great points. But what about the work-life balance aspect? The career guide mentioned that this line of work can involve shift work or long hours.
That's true. It's not always a 9 to 5 job, but for some people, the flexibility of shift work is actually a perk. It allows them to pursue other interests or spend more time with family during off-peak hours.
That's a really good point, and some people actually prefer the structure and routine that shift work can provide.
Exactly. It really depends on your individual lifestyle and priorities. And remember, every company is different. Some might offer more flexible scheduling options than others. It's definitely something you can ask about during the interview.
You're right. It all comes back to asking those thoughtful questions that show you've done your research and you're serious about finding the right fit for you.
Precisely. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's remember that preparing for a job interview is about more than just memorizing answers to common questions. It's about understanding yourself, understanding the role, and understanding the industry as a whole.
And most importantly, it's about showcasing your passion, your skills, and your potential to thrive in this field. It's about finding what feels right for you, ultimately. So we've talked about the skills, the interview questions, the career paths. It sounds like there's a lot to think about when you're considering a career like this.
There is. It's a big decision. And that's why it's so important to be prepared, not just for the interview itself, but for the entire journey. This career path, it's kind of like the materials you're working with. It can be molded to fit your own aspirations.
I like that analogy. It's about being adaptable, just like those plastics being shaped and molded in the heat treatment process.
Exactly. And speaking of adapting, the career guide also talks about the importance of staying up to date with industry certifications.
Right. It mentioned that having certain certifications can make you even more attractive to potential employers.
It's like adding another level of expertise to your skill set. It shows you're not just keeping up with the latest technologies, but you've taken the initiative to really master them.
And in a competitive job market, those certifications can give you real advantage.
Absolutely. It's like a flashing neon sign that says, I'm a cut above the rest. So don't underestimate their value.
So true. And you know what else could give you an edge? RoleCatcher.
Always, right?
Their platform, it's not just for resume building and interview practice. They actually have a feature where you can showcase your certifications and credentials.
That's right. Instead of just listing them on your resume, you can create a whole profile that highlights your commitment to professional development.
It's like a digital trophy case for all your hard work. It's brilliant. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground today. The nitty-gritty of the job, those tough interview questions, the broader career landscape. What a journey.
And we even managed to squeeze in some RoleCatcher magic along the way. Of course. It wouldn't be a deep dive without it. But seriously, I think anyone listening who's serious about a career as a plastic heat treatment equipment operator is walking away with a serious advantage.
I completely agree. They've got the knowledge, the strategies, the tools to really put their best foot forward.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Giving people the confidence to pursue their passions and achieve their career goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And there you have it, your deep dive into the world of a plastic heat treatment equipment operator. You're prepped and ready to take on that interview. Remember, you've got this. And if you need a little extra support, RoleCatcher is always there to lend a helping hand. Good luck out there.